Just a little piece of an article that I thought would be important and good and informative to share with you today, surrounding a topic that I've talked about quite often in my material and in my book, Contraindicated, but something that needs to be emphasized in a video on its own, I think. Let's take a look at this real quick. Dietitian and influencer Tanya Zucker-Brot and her company F Factor were also sued in New York in October 2022. Customers of her celebrity-backed diet plan alleged that the high-fiber powders and supplements caused intestinal blockages requiring emergency surgery, debilitating gastric pain, disordered eating, severe allergic reactions, and other serious and permanent injuries, according to Bloomberg. Now, I'm going to be really, really, really honest with you. This little article snapshot here was uploaded on Instagram in 2023. I had it saved in one of my folders, and I don't know what article it's from. I don't even really know what they're referring to. I don't. I'm going to confess straight up. I have no idea. That's not the point. Clearly, this happened, and it was a big enough deal to make headlines and have articles about this. And it is in relation to high fiber powders. So there's ones that are involve like psyllium husk or something like that, psyllium husk powder and all that, sort of as a prebiotic kind of thing, that apparently are associated with intestinal blockages requiring emergency surgeries and gastric pain. Okay, now obviously it's said in the article it's alleged. It's not proven to have caused that. Causality isn't ideal anyway, so you're not really going to prove that it was causally related. But enough people coming forward in that respect for these specific problems, that's one thing. And then pair that with the main thing that I want to talk about, which is fiber and its effects on our interior nervous system, on our digestive system. Okay, as I said, I've covered this before. I've covered this before. I say it all the time. Again, I also said it in my book, Contrainidicated. If you haven't bought that, link in the description below. Get your hands on second edition, paperback, hardcover, ebook, and self-narrated audiobook edition. So, what is that? What is that thing that I keep talking about? That thing that I keep talking about is fiber is not designed for humans to eat. Humans are not designed to eat fiber. We can't do that. You know how I know that? You know how I know that? There's a few reasons, but the primary one I'll just get right out of the way. We can't digest it. Last I checked, if you can't digest something, you shouldn't be eating it. Makes sense, right? Well, unless it's fiber. And then, oh, well, no, because the fermentation process is really good for you and it produces like all these things. It produces short chain fatty acids, butyrate, for example, and propionate. And it helps keep you more regular and all these things. Let's go through these purported benefits one by one, shall we? Okay. What's the first one that I mentioned? Oh, it ferments into short chain fatty acids like butyrate and propionate. So what? Why am I saying so what? Why am I just dismissing that? I can't just say so what and then move on, right? Well, okay, let's focus on butyrate for a minute. So fiber does ferment into butyrate, and the cells in that area, the focal part of the small intestine that fermentation process is involved in, can use that short chain fatty acid compound or those short chain fatty acids for energy production, and it's deemed to be anti-inflammatory and like really good for you and stuff. Okay, great. All right. Guess what? If you're in a ketogenic state, so you're not eating carbohydrates, what is the primary ketone body? One of the primary ketone bodies that's produced through ketogenesis. It's beta-hydroxybutyrate. You already get butyrate then, don't you? Not only that, but it's actually used systemically throughout the whole body. The whole body gets to use it, not just isolated to a very focal part of the small intestine. So that's the first thing. As for all the other short-chain fatty acids, well, if you're in a ketogenic state and you're consuming short-chain fatty acids and also long-chain fatty acids and all the others, there's no need to ferment fiber to yield them. So that's out the window. That doesn't make any sense. What's the other thing? Keeps you more regular. So what that means is it allows you to excrete waste more frequently. So what? Why are we just? Why is it considered a good thing? Like someone is just pulled out of their ass, no pun intended, a random arbitrarily chosen number that says you should be defecating this many times per week or per day. According to whom, on the basis of what? You just made up a random barrier, a criterion of health. There is no evidence to support that claim. None, actually. Yes, the more waste you eat, the more waste you excrete. That's how that works. You can't digest fiber, you excrete all of it. And to go back to that point, what animal in the wild that actually eats a significant amount of plants because they're either herbivorous or omnivorous? What animal that consumes those plants can't digest fiber? Genuine question. What animal cannot digest fiber? None of them can't. They all can, through a cecum, a very large one, in fact. Yes, through a fermentation process, but it's complete. It is a completed fermentation process. Okay? They can digest it. So we're done with that one. Once again, just to refer back and beat a dead horse, so to speak. So okay. So what are some more? Oh, well, it helps feed good gut bacteria though. Your gut bacteria need it. Whose gut bacteria? Mine? What do you mean my gut bacteria need it? Mine don't. I haven't eaten fiber in years. Years. I'm 22 years old and I stopped eating fiber at 18 or 19. Okay? So what's that? What do you mean? What gut bacteria? You mean the ones that are cultivated through the consumption of fiber? Yeah, they need it until they die because you're not consuming it and then they don't need it anymore. Oh, but Eddie, aren't they beneficial though? Well, it depends on what you mean by beneficial. Do you mean they're associated with longer lifespans in longitudinal analyses with the absolute differences between two cohorts being in the tenths or hundredths of thousands of incidents of death or health status, whatever it may be, per person per year of follow-up? So literally nothing at all, especially when multiplying that value over the course of 100 years for a 100-year lifespan? The utility of those numbers are much less than nothing at all, actually. You mean like that? Because that doesn't inform upon that at all. That's ridiculous. People that have this gut bacteria, they live ever so slightly longer on average. Huh. Okay, so no. So if that's what you mean by beneficial, no. That beneficial is a cause and effect statement, and that science can't inform upon causality at all. So no. But if by beneficial you mean they're involved in the production of beneficial compounds like serotonin, so are gut bacteria that you cultivate when on a carnivore diet, which I've been eating for years. So what's the point of that? What's the point of that argument? Now, just because a gut bacteria is involved in the production of something beneficial doesn't mean that something else, another gut bacteria, can't do the same thing, if not to a greater degree, that is cultivated through the consumption of something else. So when people say fiber is a prebiotic, something that feeds gut bacteria, well, meat's a prebiotic for mine. What are you talking about? It feeds your gut bacteria. How arrogant do you have to be? Do you know all of the bacteria, all the trillions of bacteria that reside in my gut? Well, that's interesting. That's news to me. I didn't know that you knew that. Okay, cool. So, I mean, seriously. Oh, what's another one? Oh, well, fiber increases mucus secretion. That's a bad thing. That's not good. Name me one time that mucus is secreted by tissues, is upregulated in its production, rather, by tissues, outside of the context of the tissue being irritated. My nose runs whenever I'm subject or exposed to an allergen because it's irritating my tissues. Okay? It runs whenever I eat spicy food. Well, whenever I used to eat spicy food. Why? Because spices are plant toxins and your body is launching an inflammatory response because it recognizes that it's a plant toxin. That's why it burns your eyes and your mouth. Okay? And your stomach. All right? That's how that works. Okay? So, that's not good. Fiber is actively abrading your enteric nervous system. That's why it increases mucus secretion. It's abrasive. There you go. That's not a good thing. They always say it's a good thing because more mucus helps to protect your gut lining, or mucus protects your cells. Yeah. So that therefore I should eat something that causes my nose to run all the time because more mucus the better. Well, mucus protects you. Well, I should eat all that spicy food. I should expose myself to a bunch of allergies and get my nose stuffed up because that's it's causing me to secrete a bunch more mucus. Yeah, of course. No, that's a reason to stop consuming it immediately. Okay? So, no. What's another one? Oh, well, fiber blunts glucose spikes. So if you don't want to spike your glucose, eat fiber. Or don't eat sugar, the very thing that caused the spike in the first place. There you go. Problem solved. Carbohydrates being something that aren't a macronutrient by definition. Link in the top right corner of the screen for a video I did on that. Carbs aren't nutrients. Okay? Not at all. And sugar is a drug. Link in the top right corner of the screen. So why would you consume a contraindicated drug and non-nutrient when it's not required and above a certain amount causes harm? You can just stop consuming the sugar to stop the spike. There you go. Not to mention, even if exogenous carbs were required and were really good for you and all that, why would you blunt the spike with fiber when you can blunt it with fat and protein? Because that also blunts a spike. I'm lost a little bit. Okay, bottom line is that fiber is an anti-nutrient. It's not only a toxin that actually causes harm, it is an anti-nutrient as well. It swells up with fluid and it takes nutrition from you. It strips it from you. Okay? It not only does that, there's really only two associative factors when it comes to diverticulosis, an outpouching or breaking down of the distal colon, which can lead to infection and early death if left untreated through diverticulitis development, which is increased number of bowel motions per day and increased fiber intake. Those two things being obviously, as stated, tightly intertwined and linked. Okay? So there's a problem there too. And also there's only one study that has been published in the World Journal of Gastroenterology. It was published in 2012, and it was the only study that actually attempted remotely to control for confounding variables. They didn't achieve that because you can't do that in the science. It was done on a small group of people, to be fair, in the 70s or so, in terms of sample size. They were split up into 3 groups. One group was told to continue their fiber intake. They all presented with idiopathic constipation. That's what gets to this final point. This final point here. They all presented with idiopathic constipation. They were split up into 3 groups. One group was told to continue their fiber intake. The second group was told to eliminate some of it, whatever that means. I guess it was left up to them. And the last group was told to completely eliminate it. The last group consisted of 41 people. The only group that completely ameliorated their constipation was the group that removed fiber completely. Completely. All 41 people, by the way, tough to ignore is what I would say there. Tough to ignore. Now, you can't draw causal links from this for many reasons. What if it wasn't the elimination of fiber, but the things that they replaced the fiber with? What if it was increased fat intake that sort of lubed up the system? Like what it doesn't, but the point is, it doesn't help fiber's case. Okay, we're always told that, you need to eat fiber or else you won't go to the bathroom. Okay, nope. How do carnivores like cats do that? They don't consume fiber. I mean, unless they're actually eating fiber because you're feeding them a shit diet, which happens with the canned cat food and shit. But I don't feed my cats that food. I feed them raw, grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef with sardines in water, some vitamin D drops, 100 IU per drop, and some taurine powder. That's literally all I feed them. And guess what? There's no problems in that department. So explain that to me. Explain how lions and wolves still effectuate peristalsis, the movement of the bowels, despite not eating vegetables and fiber. It's a silly myth. And in fact, it seems to exacerbate constipation. You're literally unable to digest the compound. It can effectuate movement in the bowels if you do have constipation. So, I mean, it can help in certain respects, perhaps. But you know what else can help is saturated fat because it actually provides liquid into the system. So, not only, I mean, it's one thing, like people in the carnivore space, they consistently state, which is true, it's true, they consistently state, they say, well, fiber isn't required, fiber isn't essential, et cetera, et cetera. It's true, it's true. But the only person I hear talking about the actual damage that fiber caused, I mean, look into Kent Carnivore, Lee Copus. He had his colon removed, ostensibly due to fiber. Fiber was always what made it worse. His colon removed. The only person I actually hear talking about the damage of fiber, besides Lee, by the way, is Anthony Chafee. Shout out to you, Anthony, if you're watching. Haven't talked to you before. So, I mean, we need to actually get. It's worse than it's just not essential. It's an anti-nutrient, and even worse than that. I mean, that's the next step. It's an anti-nutrient. But also, it is actively causing you harm. So, with that being said, I just had to get on here and talk about that because as much as I talked about it in my book, not everyone's read my book. And you know what? If you're one of those people, buy it now. Come on. Come on. You will definitely not regret it. But yeah. Yeah. So, look, have you ever had problems with fiber, like indigestion with fiber? Let me just ask that. Bloating, actual abdominal pain. Have people that you surround yourself with, have they dealt with that? Tell me in the description below. I know I don't respond to comments too much now. I'm very busy working on a lot of projects and stuff, but I make sure to read basically all of them. So remember that. But I'm curious to know because I also believe that perhaps things like appendicitis could be caused by things like of this nature. But your appendix is also involved in the immune system, so there's things in that regard that can also be potentially a problem for your appendix. So I'm not pretending like it's just fiber or fiber at all. I have no idea. I don't know. But it's interesting nevertheless. So anyway, just leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm not sure what you're doing. If you haven't, I'm watching you. I am. And once again, buy my book, subscribe to the Patreon if you haven't already to gain access to 1 week early uploads, ad-free content, uncensored content, loads of antiquated videos from before I was ever a public figure, loads of Patreon exclusive uploads from whenever I was doing that once a week, and also an exclusive Discord server for my tier 3 members if you're into something, if you're into things like that. And also, there are a lot of morons out there in the space, in the health and fitness space. A lot of them call themselves coaches. If you didn't know, the only legal requirement to call yourself a coach is to call yourself a coach. Yeah. To be a coach, you just need to call yourself a coach. So that was quick. I'm Coach Edward Goki. Wow. Whoa. Look at that. Magic. I'm a coach. And now I'm teaching you how to ruin your health. So wouldn't it be great if you could become a coach that actually had qualifications, integrity? You yourself, yes, you. Well, fortunately for you, we have a program that does exactly that. We being Carnivore Coach Peter and I. Carnivore Coach Peter, I've interviewed him once before, and I've done another video with him more recently. I can link those in the top right corner of the screen or in the description below if they're not listed up there. He has been coaching clients for over 20 years, and now he's decided to coach coaches on how to be coaches and take on clientele. Now, what makes this program different? Well, first of all, you're going to be learning information that is of the highest veracity and integrity from myself, Dr. Sarah Zaldivar, Dr. Abs, people that you may have heard of before, and many others that we're working on getting collaborations with, and also others that are already in the program that I haven't mentioned. I've contributed 5, now 6 modules to the program. So there's that. You'll also be able to talk to me face to face through consultations that you may have seen in my previous material publicly. So you'll actually have an opportunity to feature. But most importantly for you, it allows you to become internationally accredited and internationally certified through institutions such as the National Academy of Sports Medicine, the Athletics and Fitness Association of America, many highly credible institutions. As a nutrition and fitness coach, we have two separate programs, a nutrition program and a fitness program. I've contributed modules to both. What this allows you to do is to actually to actually communicate with health professionals and practitioners of your clientele, as well as making it easier to acquire insurance, for example. This is the real deal. So, as I say, as much as it is a fallacy to appeal to authority, it doesn't change the fact that people are still going to do that. So, you might as well make authority mean something while you can. So, if you're curious about this opportunity, which you should be, and you're going to benefit a lot from it, I would refer to the links in the description below, those links being social media links to get a hold of Coach Peter directly so you can negotiate a recruitment plan for that, as well as our website below to learn more about it before scheduling a call with Peter. Just let him know how you refer there, and he'll understand exactly what you're looking for. So, with that being said, join me next time when we are having to go on rants about fiber and plants and stuff like that because people still seem to think that they're healthy for us, at the very least benign. Um, but fiber is really good for you, and all these vitamins and minerals and all that. Um, and oh, toxins, what the hell are you talking about? Phytonutrients, though. Polyphenols, though. Longevity, though. Yeah. So, till then.